In the first part of this video, I referenced Matthew 25 and Jesus' instructions to personally take care of the poor, sick, and imprisoned. I also mentioned how Christian Democrats have mistaken this to mean take your neighbor's property by force and give that to the poor. To see clearly why Jesus' instructions are superior to the Democrat way, we need to consider the results of each approach. First, let's look at the effects of each method on the donor. Under Jesus' approach, donations are voluntary, which means the donor psychologically signs on to the mission of helping the recipient. Personal involvement with the needy person makes the donor more likely to provide additional assistance in the forms of mentoring, housing, meal preparation, job training, childcare, and so on. This brings genuine joy to the donor because, at its root, generosity feels good. This makes him or her more likely to give again in the future. And all of this results in greater virtue and personal growth for the donor. The Democrat approach, on the other hand, is forced confiscation, imposed through fines, wage garnishment, and even imprisonment. The government stands like a wall between donor and recipient, which prevents any personal involvement between them. This tempts donors to resent those who are taking their money, as well as those who are receiving their money without their consent. The result is a shrinkage of character, as donors rationalize their resentment and increase their disdain for people groups they perceive to be freeloaders. Next, let's look at the effects on the recipient. Under the voluntary approach, the recipient is more likely to be grateful because the help is more obviously an undeserved gift, and he or she may even know who the donor is. The recipient's success or failure clearly remains his or her own personal responsibility. Additionally, he or she is more motivated to succeed because the help is not only voluntary, but is more likely to be closely monitored and could be cut off if no effort is made. But the forced approach gives recipients little feelings of guilt or gratitude because the money appears to them to be free. They feel entitled because there is an actual law that says they're entitled. Now please hear this next part. The practical effect of such laws is to make the financial success of an entire group of people someone else's responsibility. This is enormously destructive because people who believe their success is someone else's job will be orders of magnitude more likely to fail. And since the government can't effectively monitor the recipient, and because the money arrives only so long as he or she continues to fail, there is tremendous temptation to stop trying to succeed. This shrinks the recipient's character. As one caller to William Bennett's radio show put it, "My mother cried the day we went on welfare. Now my sisters scheme ways to cheat the system." The practical result of all of this is that forced charity not only excuses failure, it actually rewards it. And what will happen when we take the pain out of failing? It's intuitively obvious that the result will be more failure. Beyond all that, the forced approach diminishes virtue in the larger society because it frames love thy neighbor as the government's job. And of course, there aren't any government programs for charitably visiting the sick and imprisoned, so the Democrat approach is a 100% miss on those two. All of this is why Jesus taught his followers to personally, sacrificially care for widows and orphans, the indigent and the needy. It's simply a better way. The federal government can't do it nearly as well as one's neighbors, fellow church or synagogue attendees, or members of his or her own family. I personally believe government should urge its citizens to be generous, but the actual giving is most effective when it's voluntary, the way Jesus intended.